everybody. I hope you can hear me. This is Jenn DiVittorio, and I am in Wrightsville Beach, and I wanted to say thank you so much to everybody for dialing in today. I actually wanted to share a little bit of sort of Facebook basics. Facebook has been a tremendous asset for me during the entire length of my business. And what I wanted to share is actually when I very first started my business about 5 years ago, I did something called small business meetups, and I found them on the internet, and I'm not sure if you might be able to find some in your local area, but they were basically just meetup groups of all sorts. They had some that were moms and their kids for play dates, they had some that were small business, that type of thing. And I ended up attending some small business meetup groups that were particularly helpful. And one of them was actually a social media panel. And I ended up getting some great notes and really learning a lot from that meeting. And I shared it with my team years ago, back when I first started this business. So for many of you today, this might be a little bit of a repeat. And if that is the case, of course, I apologize. And I thought that it might be helpful for you to share some of this information with your team. And the reason why I thought that it might be helpful as well is because obviously every single day we have so many people who are joining our team now who are brand new. So I thought that going back to basics might be really helpful. But first of all, I think the first thing that I really wanted to explain to everybody is that Facebook, believe it or not, is really a very interesting and strategic sort of equation. You are never guaranteed that all of the people who you are quote unquote friends with on Facebook will actually see your feed, or the reverse, that you'll be seeing all of their feed. It really is some sort of a crazy scientific equation that depends on how many people are online who are on Facebook at the same exact time, and how many of everybody's friends are on, and how much interaction you've had with each person, each friend, and that type of thing. So what it comes down to is it's extremely important for everybody to quote unquote interact with your page if you want to continue to show up in their feed all of the time. So that means you need to have people liking your page, you need to have people responding on your page, and you constantly need to switch things up. As well, at the same time, you need to be interacting with other people's pages to guarantee that your feed shows up on their feed as well. So I hope that that explains that a little bit. The one thing that I think is the absolute most important part of Facebook is just simply consistency and longevity. I always like to share this story that when I started my business 5 years ago, I was actually brand new to Facebook. I was the type of person who read Facebook, but I absolutely never posted, and I was kind of more private, and that wasn't my thing. So when I first started this business, I did not have an audience who was used to following me. And so I think that that's really the first step, is for any of you who are new to Facebook, you want to start posting regularly so that an audience does get used to following you. And I think that the most important thing as well is that you are 100% authentic to you, so that when you speak with people on Facebook who you haven't spoken with in years, that they'll 100% remember who you are and what you stand for and what your personality and your sense of humor is like and all of that. You really want Facebook to be an authentic expression of you. And so part of that is being consistent, and then obviously you want to pepper in a little bit of your business. And the reason for that is that obviously nobody wants to look like some sort of, a robot on Facebook. And it's not authentic at all if each of us are every day sharing the same exact digital image with the same exact comments. So you always want to personalize everything so that it sounds specific to you. Okay, so the one thing that I wanted to talk about today to get started is that it's so important for us to work as a team. And one thing that I would recommend is that obviously if it feels good and you enjoy it when people are on your Facebook page and they interact with your page and they quote unquote like the images that you're sharing, the comments, posts about your business, then it should just be an unspoken rule for you to please do the same for your coworkers or your teammates or anybody else. It should never have to be that you're going out and you're asking for people to like your posts. As part of our business and part of our business model, it's all about helping people and sharing. And so that should be a given. You know, you really want to be liking other people's posts, and then of course they will reciprocate. And that's especially important for your new teammates as you're teaching them to duplicate this same pattern on. And it's just really part of being a great team player. The other thing that's really important is that if you have specific prospects in mind that you want to make sure are able to watch your Facebook feed every day or on a regular basis, then it's very important that you are actually interacting with their Facebook page. So what that means is that you regularly want to be going onto those people's pages, and you regularly want to be liking their pictures, commenting on them, interacting with that page in some sort of way. And then that will really help to better guarantee that they will continue to see your feed as that interaction increases. So another thing that's interesting to know is that if you wake up every day at the same time, and let's say you happen to grab your coffee, get on your commute for work, and post on Facebook every single day at the same exact time, it is highly likely that it will be the same exact audience every single time. And so that's really important for you to know as well, because obviously you will want to change up your audience. So sometimes you might want to post, you know, like I said, 8 a.m. when you're commuting into work, whatever the case might be. Sometimes you might want to do it in the evening. Sometimes you want to do it on the weekend. It's very important to change up the times and the days that you post so that you're reaching a different audience. One thing that I specifically also like to do is that if you are trying to, let's say, reinforce the idea that your business is flexible and that you're able to, you know, be at home more with your children or be involved with your kids' school activities, then of course that's great to actually post those pictures and make those comments during the school day so that somebody of course can understand that you did have the flexibility to be there, that type of thing. But then oftentimes, you know, if it's just a regular post, a great new digital image that might have been provided to you by corporate, that type of thing, that might be something that then you could save for the next day or, you know, save for later on that night, that type of thing. I personally, and I think that this is different for everybody because again, I think that Facebook 100% needs to be a very authentic expression of who you are. But I personally pretty much decided from day one, based on, you know, this social media panel that I attended, that I wanted to very regularly post on Facebook. And so I have chosen to post about 5 or 6 times in a week total. That's it. And then out of those, let's say 6 times, I pepper in 1/3 of those, so about 2, maybe 3 on my business. One of those posts I'll focus on the products, and one of those posts I'll focus on my team or the business model, the great article, that type of thing. So again, I'm only peppering in my business into the majority of personal types of posts so that people can identify with who I am. So maybe they're pictures of my family and I, my son, my dogs, maybe, you know, if we're on vacation, something that I think is funny, that type of thing. Okay, so the other thing that I like to do is to try and elicit a response from different people who I don't typically interact with on Facebook. So every once in a while, it's great to post some sort of a question, you know, whether it's, hey, you know, what type of eyeliner is everybody using right now? What do you recommend for a great vacation spot? You know, who else is out there who's a hockey mom? Whatever the case might be. And what's great about that is that it will then encourage other people who aren't typically interacting with your page to do so. And then that also can prompt you to interact with those people's pages as well as you respond and reply to them. So I hope that that makes sense. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to mention is that in our business, of course, we work in network marketing, so we might typically have hundreds, even possibly thousands of quote-unquote friends on Facebook. And so the one thing that I think that is important to mention as well is that as your team grows and as your list of Facebook friends grows, is that if you are sort of clogging up your feed with way too many people who are in this business with you, you can simply go into their profile. So you would click on their name so that their page comes up, and then click on unfollow as opposed to, you know, the default that is following them. And what that will do is that will maintain your Facebook friendship so that you'll always be able to go onto their page, you'll still be friends, be able to comment, whatever, but it will not be clogging up your feed. And so that became very helpful, you know, once you reach a certain amount of time of friends on Facebook. And then the other thing that I'll do is, you know, maybe once a month, I'll go in and I will very intentionally look at my list of friends, and I'll sort of shake that list up based on who I'm following and who I'm unfollowing. And then that way it changes up your entire feed so that, again, you can see and influence a whole new audience. Okay, I personally love, because sometimes it's hard to, you know, wake up every day and think, what am I going to post about today? And I also sometimes like to be a little bit different. You know, if corporate is handing down a digital image, then sometimes, you know, I'll notice that it's going to be, of course, blasted all through Facebook on that day. So I personally might wait a day or two and then post that digital image at that point. So instead, on the days when I wake up and I really don't have anything specific that I want to post about, what I'll do is I go onto Pinterest and I will very intentionally create boards where over the course of weeks and months, I will save images that I love and that are authentic to me and my personality. And I'll create one I call it a laugh out loud board, images that I think are hilarious, and I'll save them there so that one day when I wake up and I have absolutely nothing to post, I can go into my laugh out loud board, pick out something that I think is funny, and then just save that image and upload it. I'll also do something very similar where I create, you know, boards that are more specific to my business. And so then again, like I said, specifically with, let's say, digital images that maybe corporate, you know, handed out to us, or maybe just a great article or a caption in a magazine or some sort of press or anything having to do with my business, I will save that in a separate Pinterest board. And so again, on the days when I wake up and I just think, oh God, what am I going to post today? I'll already have some options that I can choose from. So that's great as well. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is to really be strategic about your Facebook page. I think that, you know, on the last time I was on Periscope, I talked a lot about your brand and being very aware of your brand. And so I really remind everybody to especially do that on Facebook. What I like to do is about once a week, or maybe more often depending on how crazy I am or hectic or whatever, I intentionally will go back and I will look at my personal Facebook page. And typically my sort of scientific formula that has worked for me over the last 5 years is rotating pictures or comments, like I said, on my family, on my son, on our dogs, you know, maybe being at the beach or vacation, that type of thing, funny jokes, and then of course a third of all of those I want to be in relation to my business. So what I'll do is once a week then I will intentionally go back and I will look at my personal Facebook page, and I can say to myself, or I'll think, oh gosh, okay, well, I posted about my son, I posted about my family, I haven't recently posted about work, or I haven't recently, posted a question or something like that to engage with the audience. So I'm very intentional with the posts on my page and very specific about how I want my page to be. The other thing that you can do if you want is you can, of course, and I'm sure everybody knows how to do this, is to set up your Facebook settings in the way that's appropriate for you and your family. And then the other thing that you can do if you want is you can also set it up so that you can either be tagged in other people's posts, or perhaps you want to more carefully, watch your page and see what people are tagging you in. So I personally have chosen that option so that I can actually go in and decide whether or not I want to add, each picture or comment or whatever the case might be that I've been tagged in. So again, just being very strategic with your page and intentional. The other thing that I recommend, and this was especially important when I was new to Facebook. When I was new to Facebook, I didn't have any friends on Facebook because I was new. So when I started this business, I was very intentional about going out and finding my Facebook friends. And so that's definitely something that's important to you. And the more friends you have on Facebook in this business will translate to a greater opportunity. So it's definitely in your best interest to quote unquote be friends with everyone from every walk of your life, whether it was your elementary school friends, your high school friends, your husband's friends, their wives, from your career 10 years ago, your mommy groups, your PTA, whatever the case might be. Pretty much whenever I meet somebody now, I will friend them on Facebook. And before I forget too, I wanted to mention that when I very first started this business, and like I said, it was 5 years ago, I was brand new to Facebook. I did not have a regular following, and I went to this social media panel. I started following these directions, and I was religious and I was consistent about it. And I got nothing, no business for probably about 6 months. And I was so angry and disappointed, and I never understood when everybody else was telling me how much business they were getting off of Facebook. I couldn't even handle it because I was so jealous. And then right around month 6, month 7 was a huge turning point. And that's when I ended up connecting with a woman who I went to high school with, who ended up being, one of my second business partners in Pittsburgh. And to make a long story short, 5 years later, Facebook 100%, I can tell you, accounts for probably 99.9% of my business. My customers, my teammates, how I've grown. It's the biggest and cheapest way to market your business out there, but you just need to be consistent with it. And I always like to share that story because I think that it's so important, because I know that in the first few months, especially if you weren't on Facebook to begin with and you don't have a consistent audience, that it can take time for people to get used to following you. But if you are consistent enough with it, 6, 7 months from now, whatever the case might be, maybe it's a week from now, people will remember you. And this business, they call it network marketing for a reason. People are going to either buy from you or partner with you because they trust you, or because they knew your brother or your sister or your parents or whatever the case might be. And it's that relationship that is going to make you successful. But, I always think back to that, because if I had given up in month 6, obviously I wouldn't be where I am now. So it's so important for those of you who are new to just stick with the plan, follow it, be consistent, and never give up. Okay, the other thing that I wanted to recommend is commenting and liking on your friend's feed if you want them to continue to show up in your feed, as I mentioned before. And then the other thing that I wanted to make sure that most people are already doing is pictures and videos absolutely grab the most attention when people are scrolling through a feed. So you absolutely, positively always want to include some sort of a digital image with your authentic post. And the whole reason for that is just that people will notice it when it pops up in their feed. The other thing that I think is so important is that you never just click share. So for example, let's say you happen to see a great Facebook post floating around, you know, about a product that was recently in Allure magazine. What you do not want to do is just click share, because if you do that, then it's going to sort of pop up irregularly in your feed, and it's going to pop up with the original person's commentary, then a little box, and then the digital image under it. And what happens is your audience doesn't know how to quote-unquote react with that image or that comment on Facebook. So they're not going to quote-unquote like it or comment on it the way that they would if you saved the image. So what you want to do is you always want to, you know, on your iPhone, click the image, hold it down, and save the image. And then just upload the image onto your Facebook page with your own personal commentary, and it will create a whole different reaction to your audience. So never just share. It's not authentic, it doesn't show up the same way, and your audience will not interact with it the way that you need them to. So that's very important. And the other thing that I wanted to mention with that is that if you just are copy and pasting somebody else's commentary, that's not authentic to who you are. And again, you really want your audience to have a flavor and a feel for who you are and what your personality is, and to sound authentic to you. So that's really what's so important about that. And the other thing is, you know, to just keep going, be consistent, you know. I just can't say enough about it, and if you give your Facebook page the care and concern, and you treat it seriously, just like you do with your brand, it can explode your business in ways that you really never even would have imagined. So I wish each and every one of you good luck, and hopefully this helps, and please share with your teams accordingly. Thanks so much.